Thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com, home of technical analysis education in both the stock market and cryptocurrency worlds. See the links in the description of this video for more information on our 2 courses, Entries and Exits on the Fundamentals of Technical Analysis, as well as our new course on Trading Cryptocurrency Strategy. Purchase both and receive a 20% off bundle discount. Thanks for checking us out. Let's get on to the technical analysis. Hey everyone, before we get looking at the big 3, a little bit of humor here. We've got JP Morgan CPO talking about Bitcoin as a fraud going on CNBC, and definitely was a reason for some further downside that we saw recently as this was hitting the masses. And then today on Twitter, we have a former CEO of JP Morgan, and this is his response, and I thought this was hilarious. And the internet is loving it because it's everything that everybody wants to say to him. So certainly a valid point where, anybody in the financial world is going to have a difficult time understanding Bitcoin, and they can understand blockchain technology, but the fact that a potential cryptocurrency could one day replace, monetary policies dictated by governments, it's just so far over their heads, they'll never be able to fathom it. And who knows if it will come to be, but that's certainly the goal of cryptocurrencies, and we'll see how it plays out over the next decade. So looking at the big 3, the thumbnail of the video said, is this the bottom? And it is for now, but we have to be cautious for multiple reasons. Number 1 is volume on this bounce is not convincing. So here on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we see high volume. This is the highest volume we've seen in a month. That's significant. That's what I look for a volume climax to signal the bottom and a bounce. But the shape of the candlestick is not very convincing. I want to see a candlestick like this. This is a bullish reversal hammer, bulls buying the dip, closing up near the high. This is not a bullish reversal candlestick. We didn't even see a hammer. We don't have a significant enough lower wick. The definition of a hammer is that the wick is 2/3 the size of the candlestick, the entirety, and the real body is 1/3. So we're nowhere near that. So this does not show the kind of bulls buying the dip that gives me a ton of confidence, but we do have oversold 4-hour conditions. We played this oversold bounce today. I made 3 trades today, which I haven't done in a while, and was making profit because of this oversold bounce. And it was the 4-hour time frame giving us the signal, oversold conditions. So here we go. 4-hour RSI was in the upper 20s. We had a bullish reversal doji. We had a volume climax on that bullish reversal doji. And now we've been seeing 12 hours of a bounce. But it is not a convincing bounce. This is a potential bear flag. And I wouldn't exactly call it a bear flag in terms of the shape. You could draw a parallel support and resistance line here on this bounce, but I would be looking at these equilibrium patterns. We have multiple inside bars on this 4-hour time frame. Higher lows, lower highs. The range is tightening. This candlestick just started forming an hour ago, so we have 3 more hours to go. It'll be a bull break if we can break the high of this bounce so far of 39.60, and it will be a bear break if we lose this higher low pattern on the 4-hour time frame. If this candlestick forms as an inside bar, we will see a break between 12 p.m., or I should say 12 a.m. midnight and 4 a.m. Eastern on these inside bars if we don't break it this current candlestick. So the hourly time frame, we can see the bounce starting to play out where we had that nice dip, and it really all the action took place in the first 2 hours where we had that strong follow through. That was a nice trade to be had. I've been trading Ethereum and Litecoin because they're slightly stronger than Bitcoin, and I just like the risk to reward better in those names right now. But what we have is our high of the bounce of 39.60, our low of the pullback. We made a higher low, which is a great sign for the bulls, at 38.38 essentially, and we held that level. We just tested it, held it by $12, but we couldn't get over resistance. We pulled back by $10. So 39.60 and then 39.50, our lower high. Bulls have to get over that level in order to see continuation of this bounce. That would be a higher low and then a higher high if the bulls can pull that off. And then we need to be watching for continuation if that plays out. But where we stand right now, I'm not looking to make any bullish entries in any of these big 3 until Bitcoin breaks that high, because that is a looming resistance right now and a looming lower high. Here's the 15-minute time frame where I've been watching this bounce play out. Again, there's that 2-hour big bull power move. We pulled back significantly, formed our higher low and higher high, couldn't break resistance. If we see this break of 38.38, it will be a bear break of that 4-hour inside bar I pointed out, and that will be a big red flag if you are bullish. So we have to get over 39.60 for the bulls to see continuation. Otherwise, we're going to be looking down at 38.38, and a break of that level will indicate that this 4-hour RSI likely has another leg down, and we could very easily see it dip back down again. And if that does occur, we'll be looking at the lowest price we've seen of 37.26 on this chart. If this bounce does continue to play out and last for multiple days, I'll be watching for the potential. Again, this is a pattern that I always keep an eye on. Don't necessarily act on it, but I will act on it once it follows through. But it's something I just keep an eye on and prepare myself for. If we see a bounce from this level, it will be a potential bearish reversal head and shoulders pattern with a neckline of support with that low of 37.26 as the key support level. We would have to see a bounce play out for a few days or even a couple weeks at this point. So again, it's very early. It's just a shape that I'm noticing. It's when you go from higher lows and higher highs and you shift to a lower high and then a lower low, which is why it is a bearish reversal pattern. But again, very premature, just something I'll be keeping an eye on. So those are the key levels that we're watching on the hourly time frame. Our low of the pullback at this point, our high of the bounce. We'll see which breaks first. We have a clear channel that we're watching. The 4-hour bullish MACD cross is closing in, but we would have to see continuation of this bounce and a break back into the 4,000 level to see that follow through. So very patient, not forcing anything. Got some nice gains this morning. Been a while since I've nailed 2 successful trades in a row in a morning, as I've been making only really 1 trade a day this whole week. Ethereum had a strong bounce as well. So here's the daily time frame. Volume climax, not as significant a volume climax. It's the highest volume we've seen in a week and a half or so. More so of a bullish reversal candlestick, but even then, it doesn't meet the definition of a bullish reversal hammer. We broke this key support of 267. We have a new support of 256.41, but the next level after 256.41, there's not a clear support down here. We're going to be looking at some previous resistances. I would look at 250 psychological, but we're in a range where we haven't seen a ton of price action. So the bulls want to form a new higher low, the sooner the better, and 256.41 is that level to be watching. So we've got 3 red days, 2 green days, and then a whole bunch more red in a row, and the bulls are trying to turn things around, but it's the same story as Bitcoin with the 4-hour time frame. There's our oversold bounce playing out. Look at the declining volume. So we don't have, these volume bars are blocking, that's annoying, but we don't have the strength and the momentum on this move. We see the bulls. This volume is telling me that the bulls are tiring out. We're closer to a bullish MACD cross on the 4-hour time frame than Bitcoin. We didn't get as oversold on the 4-hour time frame as Bitcoin did, and we've actually seen a bit more follow through on this bounce. You look on the hourly time frame, and the difference here is that we have a clear higher low and higher high pattern, where this is the level where Bitcoin rejected and formed a lower high. Ethereum blew right through that level. That was 277.50. We got up to 282.74. So bulls seeing some nice follow through, some nice strength, and Ethereum right now is the strongest name on the bounce because it does have this clear higher low and higher high. Both Litecoin and Bitcoin have rejected from the high of their bounce at this point. So the key support to be watching very short term would be 275.33. That's the low of this consolidation candlestick right now. Other than that, the higher low was built down here. That's at 266.23, and we'll be watching the top of resistance, 282.74. So those are the levels that we're looking at on Ethereum. And if we want to zoom in for some more information, we look at the 15-minute time frame. We can see the topmost channel that we're in. If it breaks down, this is the must-hold support level. But pretty much any break of this 15-minute higher low pattern will be a red flag if Bitcoin has not broken its high, which if we were to break this low of 275.33, I would make the assumption that Bitcoin had rejected and had pulled back. So Ethereum, very nice gains from the bottom. From the low to the high this morning, we're looking at 256 up to 282. That's very significant gains. A $26 gain, that's a 10% move. So their gains are still here to be had. A lot of people, are believing in all the fear and the hype, and they're all cash. That's fine. If you want to protect, that's great. But if you are a trader and you are comfortable with technical analysis, there is an endless opportunity here. Downtrend, oversold bounces. Uptrend, obviously easy to make money. So, and obviously, if you play both directions, it's easy to make money in any environment with this volatility. But a really nice 10% bounce on Ethereum, and just watching to see if Bitcoin can see a higher high to see if Ethereum can as well. Litecoin on the daily time frame, also closer to a bullish reversal hammer, still not meeting the definition, highest volume in multiple weeks. And we're in a zone where we don't have a ton of support as well. So we're looking down at 57.74. That's the level that we've bounced off of. After that, I'm really looking at previous resistance and now support, and that would be in the area, Look at 57.75. So 57.74, 57.75, previous all-time high resistance, now acting as support. That's why it's important to look back at these levels to keep an eye on everything, because it looked like we bounced out of nowhere, and then you look back at that previous resistance and say, oh, it makes sense, we bounced off it by a penny. If that level does break, really looking down at 55 and 50 psychological from there. Actually, I take that back. It would be 55, and then, yep, that's actually right. There's 50. So 55 and 50 are the next levels, which is why the bulls want to turn things around. The sooner the better. And we have to break lower highs on the daily, on the 4-hour time frame. That bounce playing out, declining bull volume. It's a higher low, higher high pattern. It just doesn't have a ton of momentum behind it. RSI bouncing off oversold, which is why we were looking for entry this morning. Bullish MACD cross closer than on Bitcoin. And in terms of the hourly time frame, it too was unable to break the high of this bounce. So here's the high of our bounce up at 63.91, and here is our lower highs now at 62.72 and 62.88. So we're trying to make our way there. We have a higher low of support established at 60.75, but until we break this high of this bounce, we don't have a ton of follow through for these bulls. So clear resistance 63.91 and 62.88, the high of this attempt. And then that support, if we break 60.75, big setback for the bulls, and we need to be back in preparation for further downside. So higher low patterns must be maintained in all of the big three. Bitcoin is the leader. We see these other two doing their own thing and correlating to each other stronger than Bitcoin at times, but there's always this underlying looming Bitcoin magnetism where, you know, Ethereum was running, and it was running ahead of Bitcoin on the 5-minute time frame. And I was watching Bitcoin. If I'm in any name, I have the other screen, Bitcoin, up, because I was watching Bitcoin break key resistance, and Ethereum got a little bit ahead of Bitcoin, and it was able to run up here to extremely overbought 5-minute RSI because Bitcoin was still running at this point in time. So the move on Ethereum was a bit stronger, and it got ahead of itself, but it was able to maintain this move for quite some time because Bitcoin was not done its move yet, and Bitcoin's 5-minute RSI was not as overbought. So I am definitely suggesting if you are trading any of these three names, you need to have a strong pulse on what Bitcoin is doing, because tick for tick, you can watch Bitcoin make a key break of resistance or lose a key support, and the bid and the ask spread on what you're looking at and the walls and the support in terms of how many coins are on the bid and the ask, those bots are reacting to what Bitcoin is doing. It's almost instantaneous. If you have it on two screens watching, you're watching Bitcoin break a key resistance and go on a run, you're going to start seeing instantly coins on, let's say, Ethereum. You're going to see a bunch of coins pile up on the bid. You're going to see coins remove themselves from the ask, and you're going to see a lot easier of a path forward to the upside if you see that action in Bitcoin. So there are bots on these other names that are without a doubt tied to the Bitcoin action. And another note on bots, I was playing around with bots today on Litecoin where I was putting in an order, a bid, just playing around, and there are times where I'll be in a partial position and I'll throw in some bid support to try and incite some buying and put a stop to selling. But when I do that at times, instantly a 2,500 wall of support will go one tick above where I put my order in. And if I pull my order, that bot disappears instantly. So these bots are definitely recognizing our orders going in and out. And every time I put my order in a certain scenario, he would skip me and ensure that he would fill first. But as soon as I pulled it, he was gone. So there's definitely bots playing games, but the correlation is so important. Whenever I trade stocks and oil and the dollar, it's just, I'm always watching correlations. I cannot stress the importance of correlations enough because they give you clues and little tip-offs, and it's definitely apparent here in the cryptocurrency space that the same thing is happening with Bitcoin as the leader. And I think it's so silly where these people in these, on Reddit and in these chat rooms where they're saying things like, oh, I'm a big Litecoin fan. If you're all in Litecoin, that's great. But if you're rooting against Bitcoin and you're all in Litecoin, you're shooting yourself in the foot because you need Bitcoin. The way these correlations work, unless there's a large influx of money related to news, the price of Litecoin is going to track what Bitcoin does. So if you want Bitcoin to go down and Litecoin to go up, it's not going to happen without news and an influx of money to break these correlations. So I always laugh at the people that are trashing other coins. It's just such a waste of time. If you're one of those people, please look in the mirror and better your life. So I appreciate everybody watching, and we will check back in tomorrow to see how this bounce plays out. and we need to be watching for these higher lows to keep maintaining themselves. But again, I'm just not convinced on these 4-hour bounces, and I'm being very cautious. I'm being much quicker locking in my profit than I have been in the past, where, you know, Ethereum, beforehand I'd be looking for $10 moves. Now I'm looking for $3 to $5 moves. Just looking to consistently keep locking in that profit day after day. It continues to add up.
Your girls are prime time.